So welcome to The Culture for another video today where we're going to be discussing 4 questions that were provided through an Instagram Q&A last week. I said I was going to do a quick Q&A here on the YouTube channel to see how it is, because I've been toying with the idea of creating a little bit more of a longer format content to actually dive into some of the concepts that we're talking about on the blog and through our Instagram. Instagram's a little bit more clickbaity, bite-sized information, but particularly some of the stuff that we discussed here on YouTube and our blog, I'm looking to get some longer form content out to discuss those concepts deeper and actually show how the application of it happens in a strength and conditioning or powerlifting programming sense. So we might do a few of these Q&As to test the water, and then from there we'll see how we can go. Looking at maybe setting up a more content-driven podcast, not like our current quantum lifting one where we pretty much just talk shit. But the first one is, do I need a uni degree to get to become a great S&C or physique coach? And this is definitely something that I toyed with when I was coming up in the strength and conditioning field, more so the team sport stuff, not so much what I do now, working with individual athletes at all levels, from like your weekend warrior all the way up to international and national level lifters across multiple sports. But definitely something that I was toying with in my earlier days when I wanted to make that elite sport as my main goal. Was the fact that for the elite sector, unfortunately, you probably do need at least an undergrad to get anywhere near working for a team. But then in order to get further in and actually take some sort of like higher position, so I'm thinking like head of strength and conditioning, head of strength, or maybe even like a high performance role at an elite team or a high level national team, you probably do need a degree, or at least an undergrad, definitely, but at least an undergrad to get one of those positions. Where your opportunity lies if you don't have the degree or you don't want to go and get a degree is in the private sector. So where we currently operate, so Melbourne Strength Culture is a private sector gym and strength and conditioning facility. We do not operate with any teams or anything like that. And you'll find that the coaches in this sector can actually start to make a really good influence on their clients and athletes without a degree. And that's because it's not governed, which isn't the best thing, but it does give opportunity to people who have done a lot of further education outside of the typical college or university degree pathway. So if you want to work elite sport in a team environment, you probably do need to get at least an undergrad under your belt. In my case, when I was working at a high-level team here in the AFL, for the American listeners, that's the highest level of football here in Australia, AFL, Aussie Rules football, where you kick the round ball around. In Australia, when I was working in that level, I actually lost my position to a person who had done their master's degree, where I had only had an undergrad degree. So if you want to work elite sport, you probably do need at least an undergrad or that higher level degree. If you want to work private sector, you don't need one. I'd still recommend getting one though, because it does teach you some of the concepts that are required to really understand what changes you're making when you prescribe exercise or conditioning, all that sort of stuff. And you can really set yourself apart with your sort of bullshit detector methods that you learn from reading research and thinking critically with regards to ideas that are presented at university. What I will say, if you don't want a degree or you don't have a degree and you're trying to make an influence and make an impact in the private sector, networking is your biggest pro card right there. You have to network with guys who are in the industry already doing it. If you are not connected with the guys who are already in the industry making an impact, you are going to struggle to do it alone if you don't have the theoretical knowledge. You need to network. Find gyms in your area that you can go, either sign up at them if you're a young coach yourself and looking to learn, ask questions to the guys running those places and really having the influence that you're trying to get to. Most people are really open to doing that. I know we are here at Strength Culture. We have guys shadow all the time, come down and ask questions. We have a lot of coaches who are actually members here that are looking to develop their skills of exercise prescription and programming. So that would be the biggest thing I could say for a young coach who doesn't currently have a degree but wants to start to put the efforts forward into making that step into strength and conditioning, regardless of if it's elite sport or private sector, more so if it's private sector. Cool, so that's the first question. Second question, what is the biggest problems in physio, chiro, osteo? So we'll call that rehab sort of side of things with the allied health and rehab. So what do I see as the biggest issues with that sector? For us here at Strength Culture, we call this the performance model or the performance timetable. And most people, in fact, everybody fits somewhere on this spectrum. At one end, you have the broken end where you can't currently do the exercises you want to do because either you're injured or you just don't know where you are, you don't know where to start, you don't have a coach. More often than not, you're injured down this end, so you're down in the broken end. Then you have in this middle section your healthy environment, your healthy end. And that is that you're available to do most things with the correct load management or technique. You can perform most tasks or most outcomes. However, you don't really have the skills or the talent to get yourself up into the higher echelons of performance. And then at this end, that is what that is the performance end, where you're looking for specific outcomes and to change your biology and or not so much biology, but your physiological outcomes to actually get stronger, faster, better capacity, endurance, energy system development. So we have these three sections. We have broken, healthy, and then performance. And everybody on that timeline in terms of professions sits somewhere on that timeline. So at one end, in this broken end, we have our sports medical teams, and we have our surgeons, we have even some general practitioners, and we have the guys who are looking at more of your internal mechanisms for why you are the way you are. And then in this middle section, we have, in this healthy range, we have our allied health pros. So we have chiro, osteo, and physio. For myself, I don't distinguish between the three of them. They're all, depending on their own experiences and their own sort of philosophies, they can all have an incredible impact on the outcomes with their patients and clients. But they generally sit in that middle zone, and they transition people from the broken end of the spectrum through the healthy end into the performance end. And yeah, there will be some physios or osteos or chiros who can get performance-based outcomes out of their clients or their athletes. However, when you get down this performance end, that is where you need a specific performance coach. So a strength and conditioning coach who understands programming more than anyone else. And I think it's important that performance coaches understand the previous broken and healthy parts of the model, and the physios, chiros, and osteos understand the sports performance broken end, but then also the performance end. And for your sports performance guy, your sports doctors team, to understand both the healthy and the performance ends of the spectrum. However, where I see the biggest influence or the biggest issue is when these guys in the healthy end of the spectrum, performance physios, chiros, and osteos, who try to program based for performance-based outcomes. Because I'm yet to come across many that have the same theoretical understanding of periodization, concurrent training models and schemes to get the best outcomes from the athletes. And once that job is completed in getting the athlete back to a part where they can actually train under some significant volumes and do all the required movements without pain and without regression after sessions, it's very, very important for them to understand when to hand off to a capable strength and conditioning coach. And this is where I see the biggest issue with this model, is that in Australia especially, this end of the performance model is just not, it's not respected yet. There's just not enough coaches pushing out good content that allows the guys in the middle, chiro, osteo, physio, to give them full capability to take that athlete and actually express some of those performance outcomes. It is shifting, but there is still a very blurred line there, and we need more performance coaches to to put their heads up and say, hey, we know what we're doing. We can handle these athletes now that you've helped them and get them back to a point where they can handle some volume and training. But it's on us to actually take them past that point and get them into the performance outcomes that we're looking for. So not so much as that I think it's an allied health issue, as much as I think it's the whole spectrum, and that we all need to communicate better with each other and understand that we have certain roles in that outcome and that for that athlete's outcome. However, for it to all rise, and that quote where the rising tide floats all ships, for all of it to rise and for the industry as a whole to get better, we just need better communication between that full spectrum of broken athletes, broken's probably not the right term, but that fast sports medicine end, into our sort of healthy range where we're looking at allied health professionals, and then transitioning into those performance end where we have guys like myself and the team here at Strength Culture really looking to push the performance outcomes of those athletes. That would be me there. That's actually a really good blog content. I might do a blog on that. Number 3, plans and directions in the next 5 to 10 years. So we are here at Strength Culture just a tick over 2.5 years in. And if I look back and think about some of the stuff that we've managed to do in the past 2.5 years, I'm extremely, I'm happy. I'm fulfilled with how much we've done in 2.5 years. It's been incredible. We do have some big lofty goals that we're looking to set ourselves up for to achieve over the next 5 or so years. We do want to have a big influence here on the industry, and I think we are starting to. For us as a gym, I guess the biggest thing that we want to get into is just put our name on the map as a facility that can really help the industry, as I said, rise that tide. We want to push harder into the educational streams and really lift some of the theoretical knowledge that underpins what we actually do here. That would probably be my biggest goal for the gym, being that improving the education of actually applied coaches and understanding how to apply the knowledge that you're learning, and maybe some better methodology to actually get better outcomes for your athletes and your clients. I know that Charlie really wants to build a really successful powerlifting team through our doors. He wants to get some national level lifters. We did win the junior men's championship last year. We're looking to hopefully back that up this year with our junior team. However, our senior guys, we just don't really have many right now. We had a few go to Worlds, but with the whole World Powerlifting Federation hoo-ha issue, they then got banned from the IPF, from World Powerlifting, and Powerlifting Australia. So they can't come back in and compete at nationals, which is disappointing because otherwise we would have had a couple really strong lifters who potentially could have medalled. So that's 2 of the big things that we want to look towards. For me, it's the educational stream. For Charlie, it's really to build that powerlifting team up. And then I think as a whole, we just want to continue to solidify our streams and our systems here at Strength Culture. We do believe that we have some underpinned knowledge and application of that knowledge that can really help the industry as a whole. So we want to try and express that and expand that as best as we can by helping more athletes, helping more clients, and as I said, improving that connection from that performance model of broken, healthy, and performance, and really try and bridge the gaps between some of those allied health professions into performance outcomes, and getting some strength coaches to actually understand when and where is the time to call upon some of those allied health pros. So as a whole, I just want to keep lifting the standard here in Australia, but more so is I really want to just push what we're capable here of Strength Culture. In terms of the in terms of the educational stream, we've had a lot of people. I'm actually dumbfounded at the amount of people that have inquired about our next intern intake, and the amount that have come in from interstate and overseas as well has spurred me to set the process into setting an online mentorship. So if you're somebody who is looking to learn from us, give us about 12 months and we'll be ready to launch our online mentorship. It's going to start small. We're probably looking at taking about 10 people. It will be a paid service because you're not completing any hours coaching with us here in the gym. Our in-house internship will always be free. We might solidify and bring back the numbers of that. However, we are looking to run an online mentorship stream with direct contact with me and how you can better apply some of the principles that are underpinning strength and conditioning to get the best outcomes for your athletes across the board, across multiple sports. So keep an eye out for that if you are interested. That's something I'm really looking forward to setting up over the next 12 months. And then the last question comes from one of our previous interns, Josh Hannell, remember the name. But when looking to provide more stability to a structure, do lower or higher threshold exercises have greater effect? So up until recently, this was something that I was really toying with within my own head, and the tug of war battle that I feel most people have when they start to really break down some of the ideas or systems that they have in their head. But this idea of stability and what actually is stability as an outcome. I do believe it's an outcome that you need to train and needs to be improved progressively over time. I think the first thing that you need to do when discussing any topic is actually discuss the definitions that you're trying to talk about or unpack. So the first thing in that would be stability and how we define stability here at Strength Culture. And for us, it is the ability to maintain alignment whilst resisting forces and perturbations when moving. So that's a key concept, is that it's actually moving. The definition of stable is something that doesn't move, and that doesn't quite apply to what we're doing in a strength and conditioning field where we're looking to move under load and under forces and all that sort of stuff. So for us, it's the ability to maintain your alignment, and what you deem to be an acceptable alignment is up to you as a coach or you as a lifter. There is no one best definition for the optimal technique. There is a bandwidth that everyone should sit within. However, the specific, this is optimal, it's not a snapshot, it's not a freeze frame, it's a range of movements. So your ability to maintain your alignment, whatever you deem acceptable for alignment to be, whilst resisting forces and perturbations, is pretty much what we say is a stability-based outcome. So for that then to make sense and for you to then train that, you need to destabilize the system. So how can we destabilize the system? Number one, we can reduce the base of support so that we have to maintain our center of mass over a smaller base of support. That would destabilize the system. It's almost like changing your balance outcomes. I'm going to do a blog on that. I've already written half of it, so that will come out in the next couple of weeks. Secondary to that, we can add load to the system, and we can destabilize the system by adding greater amounts of load. We can offset that load, so we can have it in one side of the body, or we can have it on the other, ipsilateral or contralateral loading, depending on the movement. That would further destabilize the body. Something like using kettlebells with the unstable load up top, that will also destabilize the system, and then the system then has to work harder to maintain the alignment, to keep everything in balance and in check for you then to train for that outcome of stability. And what Josh is asking here is the low and the high threshold sort of environments to then train stability. For us, a low threshold environment would be something that's unloaded, generally ground-based, a slower tempo, higher proprioceptive feedback, and something where you're getting some cueing and coaching from an external source. So when we think about these, and maybe only one or two joints moving in congruency. So when we think about low threshold environments, we think about more of our ground-based structures and stuff like that. So planks, dead bugs, even just push-ups, bodyweight squats, bodyweight lunges, single leg RDLs that are bodyweight, hip aeroplanes, all of those sort of things would fall in our low threshold environments. We're controlling the stability demand, but there's no external force. You're getting a lot of feedback from the ground or the wall or anything like that. And generally you've got a lot more cueing and coaching occurring with those movements. You could get somebody to help you and actually coach you through it if you have a hired coach. That would be low threshold environments. A higher threshold environment would be something where the ability to learn becomes harder. So generally we increase the speed or the tempo, we add external loads, we get you off the ground and get you into moving positions. And ultimately we're asking you to challenge the system in a standing global pattern of stability. So this would be more so like your contralateral or ipsilateral loaded lunges, or Bulgarian split squats, one leg RDLs, overhead pressing for reaching stability. Pretty much your whole training then becomes stability-based training. And if you can hold your alignment under a fair amount of load and volume and intensity over a progressive period of time, and you're smart with the prescription of those loads, you'll generally get greater stability outcomes. So then the question from Josh would be, which area is better to train stability? And like most questions, it would be completely contextual. So it depends on the situation. We do believe that for a beginner or somebody looking to undertake a new skill, it is of vital importance that you master them in low threshold environments. You should be able to crush dead bugs, planks, side planks, reaches against the wall, foam roller wall slides, back to wall shoulder flexions, light bottoms up kettlebell presses, split squats, single leg RDLs, unloaded. You should be able to crush all of those things. And if you can't, you probably don't really have any reason to be stepping under load and throwing external load to your system. They're sort of competencies that you must master before you then go into loaded patterns. So when would a low threshold environment be of a bit more importance? It would be more important for those people who are looking to develop new skills and for just brand new beginners in the gym. With that said though, for an experienced lifter who is trying to maybe improve their bracing techniques or improve their shoulder stability or lower trap function for the bench press or something like that, heading towards those lower threshold environments can be a really easy place for them to learn the skills, for them to apply them in higher threshold outcome performance-based situations. So when would a higher threshold strategy be of more importance? For the most part, when you have a stronger, more competent lifter. Somebody like Charlie, who is in the background here now, is just starting to realize that he feels better when he actually does some pretty heavy loaded reaching drills, not the unloaded stuff. It's why we've sort of changed our stance in when to periodize reaching in your program as well. We've done some posts on that in the past. But for the most part, those higher threshold environments will be better for stronger, more competent lifters. And at some point, you should reduce the need to use those sort of lower level drills as you become a better lifter, as your technique efficiency improves over time. Your requirement to use those drills just shouldn't be as high as when you were a beginner lifter learning the skills and competencies. So hopefully that answers your question, Josh. I know we discuss this shit all the time, so it probably does, and you probably heard me say it a million times, but that's my current understanding of that position for low and high threshold learning environments. As I said at the start of the video, we're looking to get some of this longer format, actual contextual content out. So if this is interesting to you and you want to hear more, let me know, because I do want to set up some sort of stream to get this sort of content out. As always, if you've got any questions or anything you want me to discuss, drop them in the comment section below. That's about it for today. So happy lifting, and we'll see you next time.